This
Good morning,
conference will
everyone.
now be recorded.
Since our chair, Dexter, he has to be virtual, we're going to nominate somebody in person to preside over the meeting. It looks like Dr. Clevenger has volunteered. So I think we'll have to do a vote.
All right.
So some,
We need to, the chair needs to be present to comply with the Opens Meeting Act, or the person presiding over the meeting needs to be present. So that's why we're doing this.
yeah, so we'll need somebody to make a motion to approve Dr. Clevenger.
I so move.
All right. A second. I know. Yeah, somebody online will have to give us a second for nominating Dr. Clevenger to preside over this meeting.
I'll second it, Dominic.
I'll second.
Whoever. Yeah.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Okay, it's 9:35, and with this meeting called to order, it's 9:35.
And turn up your volume, honey.
Thank you all for being here today. We do have a quorum, both online and in person, so thank you guys for being here today. So second item on the agenda is opportunity for public comment. At this time, do we have any public comment today? Okay, it doesn't look like we have any public comments. We'll move on to agenda item number 3, which is an action item regarding approval of meeting minutes from July 11th, 2024 meeting. If y'all want to take a minute just to look over the minutes, just let me know if you have any questions.
Move to approve is written.
Second.
We have a move to approve from Bobby. And
Dean.
And Dean Rome seconded it. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, that is approved. Next item on the agenda is a discussion and action item regarding approval of proposed amendments to the DDCT bylaws on page 10. So let's take a look at page 10.
Okay. So in your packets, if you have it, the digital version, we have a revised version showing all the edits we made. This table here breaks it down, so we have all the articles. So each section of the bylaws, and then some proposed changes we have, stuff like adding in an Open Meetings Act compliance section, or changing quorum to 50% plus one, clarifying stuff like
That's mine. I'm trying to
majority
adjust.
vote requirement for removing board officers and things like that. But
Back there is louder.
we also have several additional changes that we may see if the board would like to approve today, or wait until the January meeting to approve them all together, because we do not have these revisions in the packet. So the revisions will be stuff like adding in, that SITCOG staff is doing the staffing for DDCT, that the SITCOG executive director appoints the DDCT director, who is Ryan Nelson. What was the other one? There's another addition. Oh yeah, stuff about the foundation of DDCT, like when we were incorporated, and I believe that's it. So the board has the option today to approve all these bylaws listed here, along with those suggested additions, or we can wait until January to have those revisions all formally added into the bylaws and approve them then. So it is up to the board.
What would you prefer?
What is it? Whatever the board decides.
So what you're saying is you have the DDCT bylaw amendments that here in the packet, but there's some other ones that we don't have in the packet.
Yeah, these were additional suggestions we received today. And like I said, it's just mentioning basically SITCOG's whole relationship with DDCT as far as the staffing and the appointment of the director, and then like when we were incorporated at the foundation. Yes, Steve?
I think these are all fresh. We discussed them at the last meeting.
We discussed some. We had a much shorter list last meeting. We decided to do a full review in between then and now. And so, yeah, most of these are new additions.
Does anybody online have any comments to that? Does anybody online want to discuss that? There's some amendments that are in the packet, but then there's some other amendments that are not in the packet. Would anybody like to discuss this any further or anything to discuss?
The amendments that are not in the packet, we need to, before we approve them to go into the bylaws, we need to make sure they're written down somewhere at the very least, so that whatever we approve is in writing. So there's no discrepancy when it actually gets to the bylaws. I think it would be more prudent to wait until January, have them published, and anybody can ask questions and understand them and chew on them, and approve them at once, since they are bylaws. I mean, bylaws are pretty serious revisions.
Now, Bobby, do you think that we can approve what's already in the amendments now, or do you want to approve it all together? What do y'all
Oh,
think?
no, I think we can approve what's been put in the packet now. I would just be reluctant to approve any of the new ones that we've not really had time to think about.
I would say from staff and the district director who's not here, if we're gonna make amendments, the preference would be to do them all together at the same time rather than have it twice on the agenda, because they do have to go to the executive committee for ratification afterward.
Make a motion that we wait until the January meeting to approve the minutes as a complete package.
Okay, Dean Rome makes a motion to table this until January, until we have all amendments down, written, that we can review to approve at one time. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Bobby seconds it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nope, passes. Okay. Number 5 is a discussion and action item regarding election of DDCT officers. So if we go to page 12, it discusses what the chairman responsibilities are, what the vice chairman responsibilities are, and it kind of goes, talks about the election of board officers. Currently, the board chair and vice chair are eligible for two one-year terms. Currently, both Chair Dexter Morris and Vice Chair Ted Gonzalez are able to be re-elected for a second term. All other board members are eligible to be nominated as officers.
Yeah, so we have the description there of the chair and vice chair's duties. You know, the vice chair will really preside over the meeting in the event that the chair isn't there. Yeah, so currently the chair is Dexter Morris, who's online. Our vice chair, Ted, was unable to make it to this meeting. He let me know this morning. But we are currently able to re-nominate and vote to approve both of them for their second term, or you nominate anybody else, or if somebody else wants to run as chair. Dexter, I don't know if you want to remain as board chair, or you want somebody else to take over, or it's up to you guys.
I'd prefer to stay on. I had a bad year this year, and hopefully I'm healthier next year. And I'd like to stay on contribute.
Okay.
Okay, so I make a motion to, for our chair for a second term, Dexter Morris.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Dean Rome seconds. All in favor for our chair for extended one-year term to be Dexter Morris? Everybody say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And now for vice chair. So, Ted, I think Ted does a good job. Maybe if anybody wants to nominate Ted again, or, yourself, or anyone else.
Did you have a discussion with Ted? Is he happy as vice chair right now? Does he want to continue? Do you know of as vice chair, or has he, or he stated otherwise that he didn't want to?
No, he never stated otherwise that he didn't want to, and he knew the elections were this meeting, but he didn't say anything about not wanting to continue.
Okay, any discussion on this? Anybody like to contribute a discussion on this topic? Okay, I make a motion for our vice chair to be Ted Gonzalez. We need a second.
Second.
Dean Rum seconds it. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. So our chair will be Dexter Morris and vice chair will be Ted Gonzalez for a 1-year term. Next is a number 6 discussion item regarding presentation from the 2024 Rural Internship Program awardees. And that's pages 14 through 31.
Yeah, so on here we have a little table that has our 4 awardees, which is the most program participants we've had ever for the Rural Internship Program. So we have the K Theater in Rockdale, the Hamilton EDC, the Nolanville EDC, and the Lampasas Chamber of Commerce. We have 3 of them here to kind of discuss the accomplishments of their interns. So we'll go ahead with the city of Nolanville, who we're actually, you may have to wait a few minutes because I believe they're pulling up the correct PowerPoint. The PowerPoint we had in here was actually the last meeting. So whenever they have that pulled up, you guys will be able to present. But you can go ahead and actually just start discussing how your interns did.
So I can just sit right here.
Yeah.
So for the summer, we did have one of our interns. She is a sophomore currently at Parker Heights High School. We did get, permission to change it to be 1 grade lower just because the person we had originally, she had other commitments that she had to go to. But our summer intern, she's also involved actively currently in her school with JROTC and volleyball. And the reason that she really came to intern is because she was very interested in the technology aspects of what we had to offer. And so that's what we decided to highlight for her while she was there. So some of the things that she helped with over the summer at the Smart Museum included being at our meetings and helping us to provide input and the progress of what our Smart Museum was doing. So she got to see that business side from the very, very beginning of creating a business to what we are now. And then she also helped to facilitate our classes, such as our e-gaming classes and our Space Camp classes. And so she got to help different middle schoolers and high schoolers with that. And she also helps with the watershed testing as well. So those are some of her interactions. And then next, she did also help us to develop 3 interactive web pages for the Smart Museum. So she did a podcasting page, she did a VR page, and then she did a PC gaming page as well. So where people can learn the history of it and then how we can implement it and what jobs are available in today's society. And then she also was tasked with finding different grants to help with the Smart Museum. So that way they could help find funding for daily operations, exhibits, and staffs in the future. And yeah, so here's some of her feedback that she did provide us. So overall, she enjoyed the hands-on experience, the challenges, and the ability to ask questions and receive answers. She really did like the friendly environment as well. And then her quote was, having a supervisor that adjusted to her learning style so that she could better understand and provide constructive feedback on tasks was amazing. So she truly appreciated what she learned while she was there. She really liked seeing the other positions as well. So not only did she help at the Smart Museum, but we also gave her the opportunity to go and see different positions within a city organization. But yeah. So that's all I got.
Any questions? All right, very interesting. So next we have, I believe, is Hamilton. So I think Kayla's Raw is online. So she'll discuss a little bit about their intern.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So this is our second year to host a high school intern. We had Austin Kleiner. She is a junior, and she helped quite a bit with our marketing efforts. She provided ideas and suggestions during our Main Street Committee meetings, created all of our social media marketing, created event flyers, and she updated our EDC website, which is something that has not really been active in the last year or two. So having her do that was a huge help. And then we also started a business spotlight video. So we would go from business to business and do like a 2-minute video with that business to post on Facebook and then do a write-up in the newspaper. And so she filmed the spotlights, and then she edited the videos for us to upload, and then she helped post that into the newspaper. So that was extremely helpful to have her here. She helped with our EDC pamphlets. She really enjoyed this internship, and so we were really grateful to have her.
Any questions?
Great opportunity for somebody like that.
And next, we have the Lampasas Chamber of Commerce.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. I can't seem to get my camera. Oh, there's my camera right there. I haven't done GoToMeeting in a while, so I apologize. And we just got new computers, so I was trying to figure all that out. So first off, I would like to thank your organization for providing us with this opportunity. You know, in the rural communities, we don't get this opportunity very often, so we were very thankful. We've been able to work with many different organizations on having some youth in our visitor center and our Chamber of Commerce, but this was wonderful experience for our intern, which was Chloe Cowdery, and she is currently a senior. She was a junior at the time, and we did the internship obviously over the summer. So her dates were June 11th through July 30th, which she was able to be involved with our Spring Hoe Festival, which is a it was in its 52nd year, I believe, of the festival, and we actually hosted a Toughest 10K, which was in its 44th year. And so she was able to help us prepare for that and working with different volunteer groups, and then also working with the event prep. And so that's really important for us to do, engage with all of our volunteer committees and our volunteers, because we're really building our legacy in servantship. And so I don't know if any of the other areas have experienced this, but you know, whether you're down on sponsorships or down on volunteers, it's really, really important to engage in the community. And so she was able to do that for us by going out and sitting in on meetings, but then also going out and visiting with businesses as far as sponsorships are concerned. And we did 250 bags, goodie bags for the runners. And so she helped work with volunteers and put those together. She also took minutes at meetings and was engaged in working with some of our board members and some of our committee members in working on different things. We're currently in the process of getting a tourism friendly designation from the state. So she was able to do some research on that, and also apply or help with the application process for that. So that was really important for us to have her do that research, but then also having been from here all her life, it was really, really important for her to identify the attractions and work with some of those nonprofits actually that help facilitate some of the events that we needed to get the tourism friendly designation. So we're still in the process of that. I really had hoped that she would have been able to, you know, we've been able to keep her longer because there were a lot more projects that we have in the pike coming up that we could have had her help with. But she got back to school and is doing wonderful things. She was able to help in our visitor center with some of our visitors. And so because we're a chamber and a visitor center, she was able to work in the commerce side of it, but then also with some of our tourists. And she also did work a couple of Saturdays with us up here preparing for the events, which also allowed her to visit with some tourists as well that came through. So some of the skills that she was able to learn were, customer service and then presentation as far as working with all of our commerce businesses and our members, and then really some research skills and time management and as far as deadlines are concerned. So we were really excited to have her, and I think she had a really good time. So thank you for the opportunity.
Great, thank you. Do you have any questions for Lynn Passes?
Sounds like a lot of great opportunity, and sounds like that student had a lot of hands-on and got a lot of experience. So good work.
All right, our last award.
Dominic, I have a question.
Oh,
if you
yes.
don't mind. Melissa, can you talk a little bit about the Texas Tourism Friendly designation? I thought that was really interesting. Congratulations on that as well.
Thank you so much. We're still in the process. It's a long road, a long haul, but it's very, very much something that we are aspiring to obtain, because for somebody that doesn't have like a lake or big industry or museums or things to bring tourists to our town, we really have to work with our nonprofits who do those events and do those help build those preservation projects and the attractions. And so this designation was something that was brought to us through our historical commission by our county actually, but it's actually focused on a city designation as of right now. And I believe it's the first time they're doing it. So you may be familiar with like music friendly designations and film friendly. And so different communities go out and try to get those, obtain those designations. And, it's just really a credibility designation for people to, when they go to our website or they go to they come through our town, to really provide an experience for them. And so, and that obviously translates into tax revenue and sales, sales tax generation for EDC and for our city in general and all of our businesses. So it's a process. We had to get a proclamation. We had to do 3 letters of recommendation. I was actually just at a conference last week in early Texas, and there are several different visitor centers / CVBs that are acquiring this designation. And so we're very honored to get it. We don't really know what that looks like quite yet because we're still in the process. But it's been a fun ride, and we're really interested in learning how that tourism designation can really spring us forward as far as attracting tourists to come and stay in our town instead of just being a drive-through. So, for the longest time we've been fill up your tank of gas and get a bite to eat and then move on down the road towards your next destination. But we really want to keep them here for a day or two. And so we need to build out that experience for them. So this is kind of helping us model what that looks like.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I know we've had people from the state present on the music-friendly and film-friendly destinations, but we haven't done tourism-friendly, so that may be an idea for a future presentation. But our last awardee is the K Theater in Rockdale. So they actually did something unique. They had 6 interns, but only 2 of them were funded from our $1,000 award. They secured an additional $2,000 from various foundations, just in donations from those foundations. So overall, they had $3,000. They hired 6 interns at $10 an hour, each of them working about 50 hours this summer. So their focus is on their it's their 150th anniversary for the city. They hosted a bunch of movies, concerts, live theater, different entertainment programs and stuff, and the interns assisted with the staffing and running of the theater, but then also the development and running of the various entertainment programs and movies and things like that. So I thought that was a really innovative way to supplement the program by getting additional donations so they can have even more interns. But yeah, in your packets, you all have the activity logs and report forms for all the interns. And then at the end here, there's a brief news article from the local Rockdale newspaper that discusses it, and they're hiring full 6 interns. Photo there too. And yeah, that's it for our awardees. Look forward to 2025 and hoping we have even more next year.
I mean, these almost seem like full-time jobs where these interns come in, and I know it looks like a huge lift. I know with like the social media campaigning and the marketing and research and event planning. I mean, I know that helps somebody out within the city. And so my question was, were some of these brand new things that were kind of reinvented or invented, or were these things like, was this just helping the city to do some of these things, or because like the marketing thing and the social media campaigns, it almost seems like something that, you know, you talked about how it hadn't been very active in a long time, but are y'all planning to kind of keep that going over there in Hamilton?
Yes, we are going to keep that going. I did just hire a full-time assistant, so she's going to take what Austin did and just continue it from here on out. And it's really, really helped people attract people to our social media, which is where we do a lot of our announcements on if there's a business coming to town or if there's an event or grant opportunities that the EDC has. All of that goes on our social media, goes on our website and the newspaper. And so having these marketing efforts has really increased the traffic.
Very good. Very
So
good.
from Lampasas, this is Melissa. I was able to hire a part-time project manager, and she will be taking over some of the tourism-friendly responsibilities, but then also the engagement with our community business members. And so we're going to come up with some other ideas. But yes, as far as the event planning portion of it, our intern was able to help with what we normally just have volunteers do, but she was able to lead them, I think, in a better direction in meeting their deadlines and obviously taking off some of the load for us.
Great. That's great. Yeah. Thank you. Any more discussion? Okay. Number 7, discussion item regarding 2022 through 2026 Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, CEDS implementation, page 34 through 44.
Okay, so we made it through our primary economic development objectives. So we're going back, if people remember when we had our CEDS workshop, the first 3 or 4 objectives in the CEDS are actually focused a lot on emergency management preparation. You know, a lot of that is kind of from COVID and the winter storm. So that kind of impacted it as far as why it has that focus. So yeah, our first objective is to improve and formalize emergency operational and community protocol across the region. So we have 8 strategies under this objective: preparing cities to function remotely during emergencies, emergency drills, you know, helping them access emergency medical services and supplies, especially in rural areas where they're far from hospitals. Creating jurisdiction specific protocols for communications and operations. There's emergency planning meetings held continuously, volunteer task forces, talking a little bit about the Defense Support of Civil Authorities Act, and then creating templates for cities to send out stuff like oil notices or other emergency information. So we have this document here, and you can see it in PowerPoint. This kind of shows where we're at as far as these strategies. You know, whether we haven't started them, and then you have the yellow little construction sign that shows a guy working. That's kind of in progress. And then if it were complete, we would have you know, another symbol for that. But none of these are complete yet. So just as far as some work we've been doing on this objective. We have plans for a Central Texas Emergency Planning and Management Summit. In your packets, there is a copy of that agenda in here. That's towards the end of the item. So our current idea, we've already gotten 3 of the speakers, I believe. We're going to have in the morning, or first half of it, it's going to be focused on the emergency planning side. So we'll have our Assistant Director for Public Safety here at the COG kind of talk on, the services they provide, the 911 address and everything, and basically just general public safety work and emergency preparedness. Next, we want someone to kind of speak on, educating cities on how they can develop hazard management, hazard mitigation type plans, or prepare their infrastructure for disasters. And that's somebody from a consultant group, H2O Partners, someone's a mitigation program manager. After the break, then we're going to do when you're actually responding to a disaster, and then the recovery part of that. So we're having an EMC, and that's Emergency Management Coordinator for Bell County, talk on the emergency communication coordination, how cities can effectively do that. Then we're going to have David Williams from TDEM talk on the actual response and the recovery, like financing and stuff. And lastly, we want to do a success stories panel where we have preferably local EMCs and others, maybe fire stations or police precincts in the region to talk about successful management and response to disasters. And that's the overall idea for that, and that meets several of the strategies. As far as the small town summit / emergency planning meetings, AC's number 5. Back when we had the small town summit series in 2022, those were all webinars and stuff. We had one of them that briefly went over emergency planning, but our idea is to have this summit and do that as kind of an annual thing. And that'll more or less meet that strategy. This is open for the board to give any feedback, not just on the agenda, but also ideas on how staff can approach working with cities and counties on completing some of these strategies. So feel free to jump in on any of these strategies if there's any input or suggestions.
So, Dominique, this is Ginger. On number 3, evaluating scenarios for accessing emergency medical services. I'm not talking about the supplies part of that. That's a whole other logistic thing. But in Milam County, at the Milam County Sheriff's Department, we have a OnMed, which is a virtual urgent care facility. If you haven't seen that, I'm just thinking what a tremendous resource that facility would be in the event of an emergency where maybe other access to medical services is remote, because it's a one person situation, but it might be something to look at because it's really unique and very beneficial.
Thank you. You'll notice that shows it has started. I think back in 2023, we found, I believe they were named OnMed, and they were like a trailer where people could go in. They would have basically telehealth visit with a doctor virtually, and they could be like prescribed medicines. And I think like it even had medicines in there stocked that could dispense and stuff like that. So we brought them to the executive committee, and they spoke and presented, and kind of, I guess the barrier with why none of our counties went ahead with contracting with them. I think the barrier was kind of the cost.
Yes.
You have to, at least I think there's like annual payments. So with the sheriff's office, with their mobile virtual care facility, how was that set up? I mean, are they contracting with somebody?
So it's actually not mobile. It's not mobile. It's actually a fixed unit inside the lobby of the law enforcement center here in Cameron. And the reason it's there is because it's urgent care. And so people can go into this pod, and it is by OnMed, then go into the pod. It is amazing. It's sanitized after each use. I don't know if they're actually dispensing medication and prescriptions yet. There's some issues early on that they were trying to work through as far as the laws to dispensing medication in the state of Texas and working through those things. But that is the intent. The one they have now in in the sheriff's department is next generation. So it's been installed for several years, but this is next generation. The diagnostics are amazing. They can do full body scans. You could, if it's a child going in that needs, like has an ear infection or something, mom or dad can, or guardian can take the child in and they can look at the ears. And so it's all remote telehealth situation. Super. It's just, the technology is fantastic. The way it happened here to that is it was a grant basically. And this newer version, the company representative is here in Milam County for this region, and she was able to get a grant to update the facility here. They are expensive. Some of them are in hospitals. Some hospitals around the country have them for their professionals who, you know, it's the cobbler's children have no shoes scenario. Medical professionals have a hard time getting healthcare, and so you find those healthcare pods in hospitals as well. But it's the financial part of it is a challenge, but it's in Milam County because of grants.
Do you know which grant it was?
It was I know it was an insurance company that funded it this time, but I don't recall which one. So it was this new upgraded unit was funded by a major health care insurance provider.
Yeah, if you could find out some more information for us, I'd like to learn more kind of about the funding for it, because it might be an idea to, if we could bring that to other counties or other emergency services and stuff, and provide them with like actual options where they could fund it, you know, it might be something that more of them are able to adopt.
Dominique, I will connect you with the representative for the company that's here in Milam County. She's and that probably is the best way to pursue.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just reviewing where we are on these two pages, 34 and 35, and being involved in the 5-year plan as we developed it last cycle, based on my experiences involved in freeze disasters we had, several hurricanes in Texas, Louisiana, 20 years involved in military activities and operations. I remember from the development of the plan, there was a lot of consideration for remote hardening of a backup generator communication facilities in local local jurisdictions, local municipalities. It's based on the fact that we could not travel for a week to 10 days during the freeze disaster. So we needed those communications. We also needed some water and other basic necessities stored in those locations. Well, we couldn't rely on a central facility to provide them to us. We couldn't rely on Fort I can't pronounce it.
Yeah,
Cavazos to provide them, because we couldn't access them from over the road. So I think the priorities, you know, in our area, we're not subject to too many floods. Sometimes we get some fairly heavy rainfall, at least on the south side. We're subject to some wildfires, some tornadoes. But when you get relying on central locations like the fort or the centralized Bell County facilities, then you don't have the backup of just local self-sustainment. And with military, situations in the world like we have, and in the Middle East like we have, and in South Pacific like we have in Ukraine, put so much strain on the military already. It would be hard to envision how the port could be supplying local entities reliably when they were maybe under a deployment or some other activity that's associated with their primary missions. So I think we should have, decentralize and go back to what we were trying to fund through the funds that were available during the COVID, post-COVID era, and keep those as priorities to help small communities. I guess that's all I want to say.
Yeah, I agree definitely about the backup generators.
They should be there. Don't rely on going to Mr. Witz's facility or going to Fort Gallery. We should have backup generator for critical communications at least, and some water and basic necessities in overall planning for disaster in communities.
I think it's where number 1 came from on here, the preparing cities to function in remote removal formats during emergencies. So, do you have any ideas on how staff can help with preparing or getting communities ready, in case of disaster, so they can operate remotely?
Well, we already addressed that, I think, and that is to combine with a framework for disaster preparedness checklist, disaster preparedness planning. And if they won't take it, then there's nothing else we can do. But we should continue to emphasize that and have it available.
I think that's a good idea, checklist, and offer it to people, checklist for people to be prepared.
And
these are the
the
things that you need to have.
communication, all the cities, counties, state, and federal communication links, keeping those updated to where maybe they could be sent as a packet electronically to all of the city managers, the city administrators, and all the police departments.
Maybe like a quarterly email that has that reminder of checklist and preparedness for disasters. And if you have any concerns or issues, or if you need help obtaining any of these materials to be prepared, let us know so that we can reach out to other folks that might be able to help you get the things that you need to be prepared.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we are leaning towards. Like, that ties in with strategy number 4 there, which is the jurisdiction-specific protocols for communications and operations. So, I was thinking kind of like finding resources from TDM, from FEMA, from any other like emergency agency, and for preparation, maybe a separate one for actual response communications, and then maybe another one for recovery. I like the idea of the checklist because that makes it a lot more, okay, I have to get this, a backup generator, and sending that out to all the city managers and EMCs.
Maybe there's a couple of helpful links that people can go to get assistance. Maybe
Or your contacts and stuff.
Maybe embed those into the email. Here's a checklist. Here's a couple of links that take you to a couple of helpful places that can, if you need help and resources, these are the places that can help. That's good.
Each city is going to have a county, and then state, and then federal assistance. And they should have all of those channels in their packet, in their disaster packet, so that if somebody has a disaster at 3 o'clock in the morning, then that they can start implementing the recovery and the assistance request.
Do you think it should be just one document, just on the communications and response to a disaster? Do you think it should also include the resiliency part, like beforehand, and then the recovery after, or should those be like separate documents on
Put
their
it
own?
all in one document, so you got your preparedness, your mitigation, your recovery, and I think that can all be in one. Training, can be part of preparedness and things like that, but I think it can be in one document for each thing, I think you have to have a document for each, maybe for each thing that could happen. Whether it's severe weather, whether it's train derailment, whether it's, that there needs to be probably one document for each issue that could happen.
Okay.
Civil unrest, that kind of thing. You can have a document for each thing.
Okay, so we have, keep all the stages, but then do it for each disaster. Perfect. Yeah.
Yes, I don't know if y'all are aware, but through the governor's office is a program called One Star Foundation. And they have a Rebuild Texas. And part of that program is the volunteer organizations active in disasters. So with that program, they actually teach communities how to prepare. And not only, and then when a disaster strikes, they all come together to help respond.
Could you follow up with an email?
Texas Active,
With the
Yeah,
links to all
yeah.
of these?
Yes.
We, as school district, we have to have what they call annexes. So we have an emergency operations plan, but then with that plan, we have an annex for cybersecurity. We have an annex for severe weather. We have an annex for, different things that could happen.
Right.
And so, for active shooter, we have to have an annex for every single thing, cybersecurity. So, and then we have what you're talking about in one document, preparedness, mitigation, recovery, those things were, reunification, that kind of thing. But it's in one document. It does help us for each thing to have that document for each one.
It's great for training too, definitely great for training.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's what we'll start to put together then, and yeah, we'll email those, the links for the One Star Foundation for that, because I didn't know about that either. The class, the training and then the volunteers for that. So,
Any further discussion for the comprehensive economic development strategy? Okay, if not, we'll move on to number 8, discussion item regarding updates on regional broadband initiatives on 46.
all right. All right, so most recent updates, we had from the Broadband Development Office in state, their pool replacement program was open from September 3rd through 10th. That may end up being kind of an annual program with another round, like boot. That was just for broadband providers and stuff to, anybody who owned poles, basically, to repair or replace them. The boot 2, that one's in its challenge period. Unfortunately for the second round they limited applications only to the 24 most economically distressed counties. Nobody in our region was in those 24. So we're looking for boot 3 that kind of expands, and at least a few counties from our region would be eligible to apply. The state also applied for the Digital Equity Capacity Grant Program. So the Texas was awarded $55.5 million for implementing that digital opportunity plan that we talked about in prior meetings. So that is going to be really based on the strategies they have on the plan. So we'll see how that funding comes down, if any of it gets distributed to local governments for expanding broadband access and digital literacy. They're expecting that to really start being implemented later this year and early 2025. We also have the Benton Institute. So they created a useful document, which I've sent out in a previous newsletter. It's called Permitting Success, Closing the Digital Divide Through Broadband Permitting. There's a whole bunch of strategies for how cities can adapt their permitting or permits for broadband providers and stuff to help better facilitate the deployment of broadband. So you don't really have to go through a whole lot of permitting red tape stuff. As far as legislation, there's a bill at the federal level, SB 2238. Most of what it does is task federal agencies to create a national strategy to close the digital divide which is really just trying to create a uniform guidance for them and make sure there's no duplication of efforts and that everybody's kind of coordinated and on the same page as far as broadband deployment. But it also would fund the FCC's Affordable Connectivity Program. That closed earlier this year because funding expired. So if it's passed, this would give it another $7 billion along with developing that national strategy. And yeah, the local government broadband roundtable, it's actually happening right now. Today, it's the first Thursday of each month at 10 a.m. So yeah, that'll at least once a quarter, it'll happen the same time as this meeting, but most of the time, we should be able to go to it. And that's it for the broadband updates.
Questions, any discussion? Okay, if not, we'll move to number 9, discussion item regarding legislative updates impacting economic development on 48.
All right, the big thing with the federal budget, some of you may have heard the continuing resolution for FY25 passed on September 25th. So that will fund the federal government at current levels more or less through December 20th of this year. So by then, hopefully, they've actually developed a FY25 budget. The Texas Municipal League is having their annual conference and exhibition October 9th through 11th. We have the registration link, so on the digital form of this packet, you can click on that link, go there, register. Big one is the CDBG program open for the Community Development Fund for the 2024-25 program cycle. We'll talk about that at the end of the grants here. And the state recently had a Senate Committee on Business and Commerce convene on October 1st. They were talking a lot about how on managing the state's ability to serve electricity demand from data centers, growth in media infrastructure, population growth, and recommended improvements in demand response energy. And then also some transparency recommendations for ERCOT's forecasting methodology, and that's forecasting for energy demand.
Very good, very good. Any comments or discussion on that? Okay, now we'll move on to our staff update on pages 50 and 51.
Okay, so Leadership Central Texas concluded with its graduation at the executive committee meeting September 26th, and we graduated 8 participants. We actually had more than that because we had some staff and we had a few people who were only able to attend like 2 meetings and missed one, so were ineligible to graduate. Overall, we had 12 people move throughout the program, but 8 ended up graduating. On August 29th, we held the CDBG stakeholder feedback session and award kickoff meetings. So those 2024 awardees, which we had 4 or 5 cities who were awardees, they did their kickoff and began the grant administration process. But then there's also a session for feedback from all of our non-entitlement communities on their the TDA plan. They have like a 5-year plan and then a 1-year action plan that affects all the CDBG programs like the Community Development Fund, and affects the types of projects that are eligible to be applied for. Other than that, we really just have our, a few other things for the CEDS update. So these weren't for our objective that we discussed today. It's just for a few of the older economic development objectives. We are planning on doing our circuit rider pilot here in October in Hamilton. We're still coordinating that, but in your packets back under the CEDS item, we do have a draft outline that put together for the circuit riders. So it's basically, we're going to go there, discuss their needs in different areas. You'll see it's like water, sewer, broadband, public infrastructure, downtown revitalization or whatever, and then focus in on what their problem areas are, provide them with various resources and grants and stuff that are open that they're able to apply for to address those needs, and hopefully get the ball rolling on doing some applications. We also have discussed before how we want to do a bunch of toolkits for like housing, zoning, different city ordinances and planning. We have the housing component complete, and we're working on transferring that to the DDCT website. And we're also working on transferring all of the industry, occupation, economic asset stuff That's on the CITCOG website currently, over to the DDCT website. We also have the grant wish list almost complete, so if anyone remembers, I think the last time we sent that out may have been 2023. So we have a brand new version, and that'll be sent out to all of the cities in our region to kind of look over, kind of similar to the circuit rider, but more direct, and we send them a document with grant resources available for their needs. Then for grant administration, we're helping currently with an application for the city of Belton, for the CDBG Community Development Fund, and for Rockdale ISD, we were awarded the EDA grant to construct their college and career academy out of the old hospital annex. So we're currently administering that. And as far as the economic overview, unemployment rate is a little high. It's 5.0 compared to last quarter. It's 5.07%, up from 4.85%. Total jobs from 2018 to June 2024 increased by 4.8%, which is higher than the national growth rate. So that's a good job for us. It's 0.5% higher than the national rate. Our fastest growing industries, construction, retail trade, and then food services. Fastest growing occupations are management, transportation, material moving, and then healthcare occupations. And so as far as the grants at the back of the packet, the only one I really want to talk about is CDBG, the Community Development Fund. So it's changed from how it was in all of its previous program years. It's now a two-phase application. The first phase is going to be really just eligibility stuff and then laying out your community needs. They want like 10 to 15 major community needs. And then you submit that by December 9th. After that, the state will select people or invite them to apply for the project application. And that deadline is June 2025. And that's going to be selecting a specific project, outlining the budget and everything, and your beneficiary area, making sure that you have at least 51% low to moderate income beneficiaries and stuff. It's also a higher grant amount. It used to always be 500,000, now to 750,000. We have our regional priorities linked there. Those you can find on the CITCOG website. If you go to our economic development menu there, it's CDBG stuff. There are 4 or 5 priorities, which are, as always, water, sewer, street improvements. Now it has residential unit rehabilitation, drainage improvements, and fire stations and equipment. Those are 5 priorities. And yeah, the match is still the same, just depending on your population. So I strongly encourage any city, all of you are under 50,000 population-wise, so you're eligible to apply. And if you have any public infrastructure type project, anything with streets, water, sewer, any of those priorities, to reach out to us if you want any assistance in applying for that or administering it in the future. The other CDBG thing is the downtown revitalization. That one is going to open early next year, and that's going to be for all your main streets, downtown areas. 51% of that has to go to sidewalks and lighting. Other than that, it could be facade improvements and things like that for your storefronts. And that is it for the staff update.
Okay. Any questions? Any discussion? If not, we'll move to number 11 for any board of director comments that you may have.
Yeah. Any comments from the board?
I'd just like to invite everyone to come out to a couple of the events that are happening in Cameron this month. We have Steak, Stein, and Wine on Saturday, the 12th. It's you can buy tickets online for a 44 Farms steak dinner. There's 2 seatings on the 12th. And then we have a really neat act, Low Cash. They have a partnership with their award-winning Nashville country singers, and they have a partnership with 44 Farms and do a lot of promotion for 44 Farms. So they'll be performing. It's on the square on Saturday. The event starts at 10, I believe, and should be a good time. Car show and some other fun things going on for families and so forth. And then on October 19th, we have an air show in Cameron. This is our 4th annual air show, And the gates open at 10. The actual aerobatic part begins at 1 p.m., but it's a fly-in and air show. So great time for people who love planes and aviation. Come out, free to the public.
And we've been asked to do an appraisal at 302 South Walnut Street, units A, B, and C. And I'm wondering about
Anybody else, any comments from the board?
Not here. There are no other comments. We'll move to other business. Our next meeting date right now tentatively is scheduled for Thursday, January the 9th, 2024 at 9:30.
Can you set this up, or do I need to call?
I'm actually going to be out of town in a class that I can't miss. And I can try to attend virtually possibly. Just want to give y'all a heads up on that.
Okay, thank you. That's fine. I think January 9th may be the second Thursday, and I think that's because first Thursday is like right next to New Year's Day and stuff, so more people will be gone. So if that date works for everybody, then we can keep it as that. If there are no issues. January 9th.
So right now it's scheduled for January the 9th. And if there's no other questions or discussion, then we will adjourn. And it is, I make a motion to adjourn. It's 10:35. Do we have a second to adjourn?
Hey, Dominic,
Thank
We
you.
usually just adjourn.
Oh, we just adjourned? Okay.
Have a good day.
I make a motion to adjourn. It's 10:35.
Thank you.